3 top takeaways from the final day of the All In Summit. Hey guys, today was day 2 of the All In Summit, the final day, and it was again packed with really interesting speakers. Today it was a lot more focused on founders and engineers and scientists, and yesterday was more focused on politics and journalists. So I loved today, and here are the top 3 things I learned. Takeaway number 1, we need to reduce regulations. There was a panel with the CEOs of the 3 major eVTOL companies in the US, Archer Aviation, Joby, and Wisk. So what is an eVTOL? Electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. So think, like a helicopter that takes off and lands vertically, but once it's in the air, it, turns around its propellers and then flies like an airplane. Why are these cool? Basically, these can decongest a lot of the traffic problems in cities. So think San Francisco, LA, New York. There's no way to build more roads in these places, but you can go up instead. And so, for example, to go in San Francisco from SF proper to San Jose, which is the other big city in the Bay Area, it can take 2 hours during rush hour. And then with an eVTOL, that trip is just 11 minutes and there will never be traffic. So it was really interesting. They asked each of these companies, hey, when are you guys going to be commercially available that an American can pay for a ticket and ride one of these? And they said, outside of the US, it'll be next year. So I think the first location for these guys is going to be in the Middle East, like Dubai, Abu Dhabi. And then in the US, they really had no answer. And the reason is just the regulatory process is so long, it's unclear, it's murky, and there isn't necessarily the appetite within the American regulatory system to approve new novel things because nothing bad happens if you don't approve it, and then potentially bad things happen if you do approve it. And so the incentives are not really aligned. But other countries do have this different perspective that I wish the US would take more of. Obviously, safety is incredibly important, but we also need to push technological innovation forward. And this is very related to what Elon said yesterday, where he said, it takes longer for a rocket to be approved than it takes for me to build it. And that ratio just feels wrong. That should not be the case. There's the famous quote of, you promised me flying cars and instead I got 144 characters. These guys are building flying cars. We can have flying cars. But there has to be this, societal culture and appetite for embracing technological innovation. And this panel was a good reminder of that. Takeaway number 2. A lot of public infrastructure is reaching the end of its useful life. And this is really scary. We had Jake, the CEO of Gecko Robotics, come and talk to us and give the most incredible, masterclass talk I've ever seen. Gecko Robotics builds robots that can crawl and climb any piece of infrastructure to inspect it. And what I learned from Jake is that a lot of the infrastructure that we see around us in cities, think bridges, think pipelines, think tanks, are reaching the end of their useful life. They were only designed for so many years. As one example, out of 17,000 bridges in New York State, only 6 of them don't have to be repaired in some way. And if we actually did the work to kind of maintain all the infrastructure in the US to the state it should be, it would cost us $4.5 trillion in the US, which is insane. Gecko Robotics is building part of the solution here. Jake brought all the different robots that they build. They have a robotic dog that is explosion-proof and can walk into dangerous situations and monitor it and assess the conditions. They have these robots that can scale any wall vertically, and they can put diverse sensors depending what type of piece of infrastructure it is. They have robots that can go into liquid tanks and look at the bottom of tanks so that you don't have, holes in the bottom of these tanks and have oil spills that are a giant environmental issue. And by doing all this proper monitoring and maintenance, they're actually able to extend the average age of, assets, these infrastructure assets by 10 years. It's this giant piece of society that is so broken and I just never gave much thought through. So that really opened my eyes, and it's so cool to see the robots are already here. And then key takeaway number 3, push to the edge. And if it gets easier, push harder. Travis Kalanick, the founder and CEO of Uber, now of Cloud Kitchens, came to talk to us. He really hasn't done much, if any, public speaking. So it was so cool to hear him speak. And whatever you think of Travis, you can't disagree with the fact that he is a CEO who knows how to win. So Jason asked Travis, hey, I think you're one of the best wartime CEOs that I've ever seen. How do you do it? And what's your mindset when you're in that mode? And Travis had this great analogy. He said, I've never seen a marathoner at mile 19 look, totally fine. And if they do look totally fine, they're probably not going to win. And so you push to the edge. And if it becomes easier, then you push harder. When he was running Uber, he said they were always pushing to the point where they were sweating. There were late nights, there were all-nighters, but they really believed in what they were doing. And his mental model was, if we are solving more problems than we are creating, then it's going to be okay. Like, there will always be more problems than crop up. If the derivative of problems created is smaller than the derivative of problems solved, then you're good, and just keep going. So I will leave it here today. Actually, no, one more. So the very first speaker today was an astronaut, Woody Hoburg, and he gave this amazing talk. But the thing that blew my mind, which I don't think I had fully realized, is Project Artemis is NASA's project in collaboration with SpaceX to go back to the moon and establish the moon as the space base that's going to take us to Mars and beyond. So we're going back to the moon, and the first mission scheduled as part of Project Artemis is going to take place next year. So hopefully that inspires you as much as that inspires me. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions about the All In Summit, I will do a final recap video of the entire experience. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I will answer them in tomorrow's video. Thanks, guys. Bye.